Hello to everybody who's feeling cautiously optimistic about where things are going. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi everybody, Chris Gethard here. And I know some of you don't love a long intro. I'll tell you what, first of all, if you want your episodes without ads, beautifulanonymous.com, I gotta plug it. That being said, this intro this week is also very positive. You might like it. If you don't want it, you skip about 8 minutes and you're good to go. All right, enjoy the call. Hi everybody, Chris Gethard here. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. I gotta tell you, I was out in the Midwest doing a bunch of shows, Kansas City, St. Louis, Cudahy, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland. I met so many of you, and you are all so nice. It's always nice to meet beautiful and honest people. Thank you guys for coming. I've got other shows. They're not until October. punchup.live/Chris Gethard if you want to know about those. Now, another thing I want to tell you about is beautifulanonymous.com, where you can sign up for the Beautiful Anonymous bonus content. And one thing I don't think word is spreading enough on, you sign up for it, guess what? You get your episodes ad-free. So right there, it might be worth it to you. If you're a supporter of the show and you want the ads out, you do that. You can go sign up at beautifulanonymous.com. But you also get extra time with the caller every single week. And at that top tier, you also get a phone number once a month that nobody else gets. You get a follow-up with a prior caller, a classic beloved caller. It's a really great service. And again, it makes your episodes ad-free. Everybody go check it out at beautifulanonymous.com. I have to say, I really enjoy driving all over this country of ours, the United States of America. To our international listeners, not in the States, I am aware that I don't speak for everybody, but I'm talking, you get out there on the roads, you meet nice people, you stay in places you don't expect. I, for example, stayed in a hotel in Chicago where inexplicably there were hot dogs and cartoon bears painted all over the walls. It's a different story for a different day, but you get out there and you realize that there's so much potential and that people want to be kind to each other. Inherently, that is the instinct to connect and be kind. And we cannot fall for all these traps where people are trying to convince us that we all hate each other right now. We don't. If anything, people are scared. And we got to take care of each other. That's what I'm thinking after my long week out there on the road. Happy to have some time where I get to hang out in my beloved New Jersey now, though. Speaking of New Jersey, this caller today is someone I met. I remember meeting her in New Jersey. But you'll hear, we crossed paths one night at a specific place that I never forgot. But this is probably the least anonymous caller we've had, maybe ever. Certainly in years, but I promise you, this is not like somebody who I know. It's somebody who I just crossed paths with on an important night, which, as you'll hear, spoiler, the night Cal first tried cheese fries. So how could you ever forget that? Now, this episode, I think a lot of people who like the more laid-back episodes, you're going to love it because she just goes on a walk through the neighborhood, tells me what it's like to move to a new place, get a new job, figure out how do you find friends later in life when you're hitting the ground running? How do you sort out dating? How do you grow up? And it's funny because these are both the stresses and the excitements of this call. And I have noticed something, and I have long said this, that Beautiful Anonymous, kind of in a beautiful way, remains sort of off the radar, a little bit in the underground. We haven't been featured on This American Life in many years. It's not all eyes on us, but I've often said that. I think that sociologists, for example, if they tracked the trends of this show, I think this show does accurately start to capture certain things, especially about the USA. And one thing I was thinking about after we recorded this call is that recently there's been a little bit of a youth movement on Beautiful Anonymous. We've had a teenager call the show recently. We had a caller in her 20s running a food pantry. And now we have today's caller who's talking about being young, but not as young as you used to be, and being in a major life transition and figuring out how that's going to go. And the energy is really positive. And I noticed something that with our high schooler and the caller who runs the food pantry, and I have a feeling today, there's a lot of people going, oh, you know what? I don't always love listening to young people, but these callers giving me hope. I started seeing a lot of that with our younger callers recently. We're getting younger callers, and we're seeing a lot of feedback from older listeners going, this younger caller's actually giving me hope, giving me optimism, making me believe in a young generation that I had maybe rolled my eyes at a bit. I see a lot of feedback from people with these younger callers recently going, man, gives me hope for the younger generation. I'm loving these callers. And I want to point that out. A, that we are getting so many younger callers recently. And that's a trend in its own right. And then on top of it, a lot of the icy cold hearts of our older listeners are upper millennial into Gen X into baby boomer listeners. And I'm in that range. A lot of people going, oh, you used to see a lot of feedback with the episodes. And it would kind of drive me nuts, actually. You'd see younger callers, and a lot of the feedback would be, oh, they use the word like too much. I can't listen to someone who says like that much. And I'd sit there and go, well, just listen to what they're saying because that's value. I'm noticing now with our younger callers, a lot of people are going, this is great. And I'm feeling positive. And I'm feeling optimistic about the future that these young people show the promise of. And isn't that a nice feeling to feel right now? Isn't that part? Everybody's out here, and listen, you can have whatever politics you want. I know that there's some conservatives who listen to the show. We got some old school Reagan Republican fiscal conservatives. We even got a couple Trumpers, man. Everybody's welcome to listen to the show. I'm not trying to chase you out, but I will say that when you look at the polling numbers, is there not something about optimism that seems to be fueling this unpredicted wave of momentum that Kamala Harris has caught? It seems like people want to find optimism right now. That maybe as a culture, we're a little tired of feeling tired and cynical and nervous and scared. That maybe we just need to look around a little bit more and go, there's so many hard parts of life, but there's also so many reasons to find hope. And if you can't find hope in the ambitions and the choices of young people, then you're just closed off to it. And I think this caller represents that. It's not as pointed as the food pantry caller. Even the high schooler was like, what are the questions you want to know? And I went in a bunch of different directions. This one's way more chit-chatty. It's a walk through a neighborhood, but I think you will agree there's an energy. There is a focus. There is the promise of possibility. And when I've been having these calls, I walk away from them going, maybe, just maybe, the future ain't as bad as they like to try to convince us on the news. Maybe the future is full of people who want to find ways to get out there and contribute and help and be a part of things and see what the world's all about and take care of it. Anyway, that was an awfully positive intro from me, everybody. They don't always go that way. Enjoy this call.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
This is it. This is happening.
It is. It's all happening right now. It actually is currently happening.
Holy moly.
God
Hi, Chris. How
damn
are
it.
you?
I'm good. I'm liking your energy on this early morning.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? I had the phone without headphones, and now I put headphones in so I can walk around my block.
I hear you loud and clear. Andrea will tell me if you had better quality before. And we do what Andrea says around here.
Okay. Very cool. How are you?
She says you can keep the headphones, and I think she had recommended against them, so she's actually kind of mad that you were right and she was wrong.
Oh, I'm so sorry. See, sometimes when I'm on the phone with people and I put my headphones in, they say it's better. I have an older phone, and I also oftentimes don't like holding the phone while I walk. So I was like, let me try. And worst case, they tell me no. So, oh my goodness, this has been a dream. We've spoken once before on the phone. Also, sorry if you can hear me clamoring down the stairs. Is clamoring a word?
It is.
I don't know. cool. I don't know if I used that properly, but
You did.
yeah, I'm just like horse jumping down the stairs. We talked in your New Year's episode this past year. I worked at a hot dog place in Jersey and met you there. And then
I know exactly what you're talking
son
about.
And him trying cheese fries. And then
Okay.
I saw you at a show recently. You did like a live tape in a Beautiful Anonymous near me. So I came by. We didn't chat because my friend was like ready to go. She was really tired at the end. But
Now, I'm going to say a couple
I don't know.
things.
I've been following you for years. I can't believe.
This is by far the least anonymous, Beautiful Anonymous call because we've had a full-on conversation that I remember. You were so nice. Do you still work at the place?
No. So I moved out of the state, and
so can I shout them out then?
So I only worked for the summer.
Awesome. Let me shout them out because they were great. So I met you at Destination Dogs in New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is a great place. My son had cheese fries there for the first time. He lost his goddamn mind. They instantly became his favorite food. It was a daddy Cal date. It was just me and him. And I walked in and you were sort of, I would say, adorably starstruck, which was good for my ego because I don't really get that anymore. And then you were super nice, but you also told the owners I was a big deal, which I am not. And then they came over and talked with me and like hooked me up, and it was super nice. And you are kind. And if we passed each other on the street, I can't guarantee that I'd be like, oh wait, we met before. So I think this still counts as a Beautiful Anonymous call, but full disclosure, you and I have had a full-on in-person interaction that I vividly remember. And like I have pictures of my son eating cheese fries from that day with a giant grin on his face.
Yes. And then we got a picture together that day. And I guess I had bangs for like a year at that point, but my bangs were like greased up on my head.
Well, you worked at a hot dog restaurant.
I was like, yeah, I'm like running around. It's, my first time ever serving. So it's safe to say the hair was not serving, but it's okay. I was. It was all good. Wow, this is really cool. So for context, Andrea was like, what do you want to talk about? And I just moved to a mid-sized city. It's my first time ever living in a city. I grew up in the suburbs. I went to school in the suburbs. Then when I moved out to the suburbs as well. So, going through a lot of transitions right now. I'm, switching jobs and switching states. There's kind of just like a lot going on. And, I was sitting on my balcony this morning, just kind of, eating some toast, hanging out with my roommate's cat. And I saw the post come on. I was like, you know what? I feel like I have sort of some shit to say right now. I'm going through kind of the growing pains of just, my friends being a little bit further. I've only been here for a week. So just trying to navigate, moving a shit ton of boxes in, decorating my space, figuring out like how I fit into this little world.
We have a lot to talk about, clearly. And the first thing I'm going to say, and I think I say this on behalf of all the listeners, is that your vibes right now are impeccable. And I know I'm 44 years old and I don't need to be dropping lines like that, but it's just true. Like your energy, 2 big thumbs up, and this is going to be a great call.
Thank
and I'm
you.
excited about it.
Thank you. I mean, clearly your energy is off the charts as well. That's why I've been listening forever.
Well, currently
I had
my voice is dead. I'm on day 4 of a 6-day stand-up tour. I'm literally kneeling on the ground in an Airbnb in Milwaukee after 3 straight nights of doing shows and talking to people. And there's 2 other comedians sleeping in this Airbnb. So I'm just huddled in a bedroom, kneeling on the ground as I talk to you. Really good vibes on my end too, is what I'm saying.
I like the visual. Do you have I'm imagining you have a giant duvet or comforter wrapped over your head. You're just kind of burritoed in the whole thing.
No, I'm next to the bed. So this computer's on the bed and then I'm sadly crouching on the ground next to it as if the bed itself is a makeshift desk.
Okay, sure. And there
That's
you
where
go.
I'm
That
at.
makes sense.
So life transitions.
I appreciate the visual.
First thing I got to ask, diving into the world of teaching, talk to me about it, because, you know, there's people who commit to being a teacher from the start. It sounds like you got into it a little bit later, like it was a shift. So you're also old enough and have been out in the room. Oh, yeah. Okay, react. Yes, that is revealing.
Like, yes and no. So I'm in my mid-20s, so I've been teaching. I did like a teacher program in college. I've been teaching ever since I graduated. So
Oh, good. Okay.
It's only been a few years at this point. I'm going into year 4, but was kind of like is it cheesy to say a lifelong dream?
I love that.
Yeah, so I was always a math person. I really liked math growing up. I was always in like, you know, the higher level math class or whatever. And I thought I was good at it. I found success with it. I really liked it. And, excuse me. Sorry, guy on a motorcycle. So I always liked math, and I started working with kids when I was a teenager. My brother's also about 10 years younger than me. So, you know, would kind of babysit him growing up. Just found a lot of like love and, dare I say, fulfillment from working with kids. And also I am walking on some pretty major roads right now. So if you hear any too much background noise, I can always switch to handheld. What was I saying? So yeah, liked it from an early age. There was kind of this, I don't want to say moral dilemma, but there was that question of, you know, if I'm a math person, could I go into something a little bit more lucrative, like engineering or finance or something like that? A lot of my friends who were in the similar classes went on to, you know, frankly, earn a lot more than I do. But, and I've had that kind of struggle since I started the career as well, because I've been financially independent for a while now. And, you know, it'd be nice to have a little bit more money, but I do find a lot of fulfillment from the job. And as cheesy as this is to say, I think I'm pretty damn good at it. And I'm growing, and I'm kind of like committed to learning more as I progress in the career. So, you know, I've had that back and forth of like, you know, do I switch to something a little bit more high paying, or do I stick with what I enjoy and kind of progress and find ways to supplement it when I can? And there was a quote I heard on a podcast that kind of shifted me, and I have it written down somewhere. I forget exactly what it is, but it's essentially saying like, you know, I'd rather be fulfilled as much as I can be in this life, something like that, yada, yada. And yeah, sticking with it, still teaching now that I've moved as well. I start literally next week with my first day.
Wild. Okay. I like the breakdown. Lifelong dream. You're getting into a field where notoriously people are overworked, people are underpaid, people get burnt out. And you're like, nope, this is the dream. This will fulfill my soul. I'm diving in. I love that.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, you know, it definitely comes with its struggles. You know, there have been days where I've come home from work and really just like broken down a little bit, but I do think you kind of get that with any job, where it can be frustrating. It can be, you know, mind-boggling. It can be tough, but sticking with it for now and doing okay, I think.
So tell me about these life transitions and which ones are top of mind at the moment.
I'm trying to think. Well, I don't really know people here yet. And so, you know, since I moved, I've been calling my friends and trying to stay in contact with people. And I'm a big caller. I call all my people. But, you know, in terms of making plans, it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, and drive 3 hours and come see me, or, you know, hop on a plane or whatever it may be. So, you know, trying to figure out how to maintain friendships, but also how to like meet people here. I've reached out to like a bunch of either friends of friends or old friends from high school or whoever who I know live here, and starting to make some basic plans, but it kind of feels like I'm friend dating right now, where I'm like, okay, and we're catching up after all these years, or it's like a friend of a friend who I've never met before. And I haven't had any of these friend dates yet. My first one is, what is today, Friday? First one is going to be next Thursday. But, we'll see. Like, how do you meet people? How do you show up and just say, hey, like, it's me. When I was growing up, my dad, to tell me to make friends on the playground and stuff, he'd be like, just say, hi, I'm so-and-so, want to play? And I'm like, what is the adult version of just like, hey, you want to play,
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting,
but
not only is it hard to make friends when you're already past college age, but also you already said you're a big caller, which I like, because in the world of texting, it's even harder to connect with people in a real way. And to hear that you're actually arranging like dates, like play dates, to go meet other adults and see if they're a good fit in your life is funny. But also, I'll tell you, I'm not a big caller, and I'm trying to get better at it. I recently called a friend of mine. I have a friend who there was like a 3 or 4 year stretch where we were super tight. My friend Gary, great guy. And I recently was like, I wonder how Gary's doing. I haven't talked to Gary. I haven't seen Gary in like 5 years. I love Gary, though. He's like the best. Mm-hmm. And I called him, and he picked up the phone. This was like 3 or 4 days ago. He picked up the phone and went, dude, what's going on? Did someone die? And I was like, oh, that's where our friendship is at. That if I call you, you think someone must be dead. That's not good. Mm-hmm. That's not good. You got to work on these friendships.
I think that could also speak to the culture, though, of like, we are such a text-driven society where, if you call, it's like, oh, is this an emergency or is this something else? But how was the conversation with Gary? You guys catch up?
It was great. And then I was like, that's a bummer. Like, what a bummer that we haven't caught up in so long that you have to assume that a mutual friend died for me to reach out. It was a bummer to realize that. But then we were like laughing and talking and catching up, and that's a good thing. How does one start arranging grown-up play dates with strangers in your mid-20s? How do you even make that happen?
So there's no strangers yet, but it's all so I had to let the people know I'm here, right? So I posted on my Instagram story and I was like, hey, here I am in my new city. And then, friends of friends would DM me and be like, oh, I live here too. And I'm like, what if we grabbed coffee? And, things like that. There's a friend of a friend I met at a house party a few weeks ago. And the friend who was hosting was like, oh, you guys should meet. You're going to be living in the same city, yada, yada. She just moved there like a few months ago too. So reached out to her. Just a lot of like, hey, want to grab a drink, want to grab coffee, whatever. I'm hoping to I live with a roommate also, so I'm hoping to bring her along to some of them. I feel like a 3-person friend dynamic feels a little bit less awkward, perhaps. But there might just be these like, little friend dates. I have to figure out, how to charge my social battery properly. But
how to charge my social battery?
I keep saying
I love that.
like. I think it's like a very specific way though, because I think I'm an extrovert, but there's a certain type of social energy I need to like meet new people. And so, just gonna try to figure it out. But I'm at a point where my motto in moving here is just like, I gotta be brave. Like last night I went to a show by myself for the first time in probably almost a year. And it was like these random bands and I was gearing up for it. I was like, I don't know how to do this. But granted, a show is really nice because you can kind of just like stand in the back if you need to. It's not like you necessarily need to socialize, but trying to also get comfortable like going places by myself, especially since I know so few people here.
I wonder with like this podcast sometimes of when I meet people, I'm like, they're all lovely. The listeners I'm talking about. They're all really lovely. They generally tend to be like sort of introverts, kind of like nerdy, but they don't wear it on their sleeve in a performative way. I sometimes wonder if if we were to start like a city by city friend group, like platonic dating service, if that wouldn't be one of the greatest things Beautiful Anonymous could provide to our listeners. Like, just, hey, go out and talk to other people who also go out and talk to other people who probably listen to indie rock in college, and now they just sort of listen to whatever NPR plays in between the news shows. Like, we could introduce all those people to each other.
You really know your audience. That's cool.
They're lovely. Lovely
Like, you
audience.
hit that nail on the head. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm trying to figure out too, like, what kind of routines I can set up as well. So my roommate and I have talked about doing, she wants to call it a book club, which I like that name, but it's like a book club for food. I started calling it the Yum Yum Club, and then she was like, I hate that. And I was like, it does sound silly, but it's also kind of fun, where basically we have like standing plans on one day of the week to just try a new restaurant, try a new cafe, try a new bar, or something like that. And then if we meet random people, whether that's like at work or out and about or whatever, we can be like, you know, hey, you want to come to the Yum Yum Club? Or the book club. I feel like we're probably going to say the book club because it's a little less cheesy.
It's tough because a book club's...
And then we invite these random people.
Like a restaurant club, like Yum Yum Club means like we'll go out, we'll try new food, we'll hit up different neighborhoods in town. That does sound way more fun. But Yum Yum Club as a name, no offense, is slightly disgusting. Like there is some element to which you're like, Yum Yum Club, what is that? You know, like, that could be that could go in a lot of directions. What is Yum Yum Club? Whereas a book club...
No, you're totally right.
A book club, it sounds a little more sedate, but it doesn't sound like a book club where everybody's going to read and discuss. It sounds like a restaurant club. So we might just need a name brainstorm, because I love the idea of a meetup group. But Yum Yum Club, I'm kind of with your roommate on that. Like, in the wrong person's hands, the name Yum Yum Club is one of the most concerning things I've ever heard. Andrea suggests the snack pack, which I like, but it does bring up memory. It sounds like something like 8-year-olds bring in their backpack to school. What should the name of this eat up group be?
Yeah, we've gone back and forth. I think where I struggle is it's not just restaurants. It would be like cafes and bars, or, right. Just generally things that you're consuming.
Right. When I needed to find a friend group and desperately needed to find people like me in my late 20s, I just started a public access television show, and then a lot of weirdos showed up and became my lifelong friends. I don't know if you want to try that.
You know, I could. You have the connections. You got to let me know.
I'm telling you,
the whole teaching thing. And
no, don't do it. I was kidding. Please, no one out there follow my life choices as your guide on how to make friends. You will wind up lonely in your 40s. You'll wind up someone that when you reach out to your friends, they assume a death has happened. That's where my path leads. Don't do it, everybody. Don't do it.
So sticking to the main path, but need a name. I'll figure it out. I like the snack pack. I do think that's cute. But it does sound a little juvenile. I think you're right with that too. Something along that vein where it's a little bit more generic.
Now,
a beer could be a snack.
Yeah, refreshment club, the refreshment gang, everybody's going to be pitching titles for this group. I also will say this, just based on your energy, like your laugh, you're clearly trying to get out there. Andrea, it's not going to be Munch Bunch. Grow up. Andrea, it's not going to be Munch Bunch. Grow up. It's not good. Don't tell me it's good. And the Munch Bunch, people get made fun of. Munch Bunch. It's not going to be Munch Bunch. Everybody already thought of Munch Bunch and never dared to say it out loud, Andrea. But here's the thing. You and I are like joking and laughing. And but you know this as well as I do. Like, you're going to be fine. You've got a laugh and energy, and you're trying to already get out here and organize. Like, you're good. This is not one of the depressing calls. Like, this is exciting to hit a new city. This is exciting to dive into a life dream. This is exciting to go like I'm starting fresh and I get to figure things out. Sometimes I think in life in general and on this show, we tend to talk to people in times that feel tenuous or shaky or grim. And we forget that like I sit here as somebody who's got like a lot of obligations in my life right now. And I sit here and listen to you going, I'm in a new city and I got to figure out who my friend group is. And we're going to do a thing where we randomly hit up different bars and restaurants. What should the name be? And I'm like, man, that's a stressful point of life. But also, that's the joy of living in a place where you have the freedom of movement and the freedom of choice and the freedom to pivot and the freedom to self-determine. Oh, I'm so excited for you. And I'm very jealous as well because I sit here and I listen to you and I'm like, you're obviously going to find friends. You've got this incredible energy. Everyone listening wants to be friends with you and you're going to be good to go. And man, is it exciting to be like, I'm in a new city. I have a new job. I got to find new friends. There's a side of that that's so intimidating. There's also a side of me that's like, those are the best stretches of life when you're older and get to look back at them. Let's go ahead and pause there on that weirdly sentimental note. I don't always get sentimental like that. It's a good chance to pause, reflect for a while, and listen to some advertisements. We'll be right back. Every week, you've got a never-ending list of projects around your house. And every week you make a to-do list. You say, I'm going to knock out this to-do list. And I know you do that because we all do that. I do that too. And then guess what? Things get busy. Life gets in the way. Other things take precedence and you hit the weekend and you don't have the energy to mount a TV or build a dresser or clean out the garage. These things you just kind of want to collapse because you're working hard. Well, guess what? For all those tasks that you need to do, but you don't want to do, TaskRabbit is here. TaskRabbit is on it. TaskRabbit connects you with skilled taskers to help with cleaning, moving, furniture assembly, home repairs, and more. And there's taskers available to help the same day. And I'll tell you, this is a very easy one for me to speak to. I've been using TaskRabbit for many years. TaskRabbit has actually saved my butt a number of times. I can tell you a few things. I mean, there was a time where we had so much stuff. I'm a dummy. I'm a boy dummy. So I had all this art when Hallie and I got together and it was not in frames like posters and stuff. So we had it all framed up and then we move a couple times and none of the framed stuff goes back up on the walls. It just hit the bottom of the to-do list, never got it. Guess what? We had a tasker come over from TaskRabbit, got it all up, got it done. Professional, didn't fall down like it would have if I had done it, saved us. I had another time where my dishwasher broke because my son tried to jump on me and I fell backwards over the open dishwasher. This is true. I ordered a new one and I ordered it with installation. They showed up, did not install it, and dropped it off on a holiday when I had family coming over. So now I've got a broken dishwasher and a gigantic box in my kitchen. A tasker was there that day on the holiday, installed it, totally pro, saved my butt, helped save the holiday, helped make it so my family did not have to navigate around a big giant dishwasher box the whole time. TaskRabbit's great. The people involved, these taskers, they do a great job. They step up. And I've actually had incredible conversations with taskers as well when they visit my house, which is neither here nor there, but very consistently true. If you want to get started, go to TaskRabbit.com or you can download the app. Search for the best tasker for your job based on cost, skill set, availability, past client reviews. Then schedule a tasker even as early as the same day. And once that tasker completes the job, you pay, tip, review. It's all on the convenient TaskRabbit app. Taskers have assembled over 3.4 million pieces of furniture, done 700,000 home repairs, completed 1.5 million moves, and more. Plus, with TaskRabbit's happiness pledge, if you're not satisfied, they'll work to make it right. Tackle your to-do list today. Get 15% off your first task at TaskRabbit.com or on the TaskRabbit app using promo code BEAUTIFUL. That's promo code BEAUTIFUL at TaskRabbit.com for 15% off your task. TaskRabbit. Book trusted help for home tasks. I've been using TaskRabbit for years. This is not a joke. It is a great, great service. It's been a busy season of events and travel, and I'll tell you what, my wardrobe It's all beaten up. I realized at some point, man, I'm sitting here wearing shirts and I'm like, I remember when I bought this shirt and I remember what apartment I lived in. And that was literally 13 years ago and I'm still wearing stuff. Now, a total overhaul, that's not my style. That's not my budget. But what you can go ahead and do, you replace some of those worn out pieces with affordable, high quality essentials from Quince. I've been doing this. I've been loving it. I've got a gray sweater from Quince and I get compliments, everybody. Quince has all the seasonal must-haves, cashmere sweaters starting at $50, 100% European linen shirts, versatile activewear, and the best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They partner directly with top factories, and that allows them to cut the cost out of the middleman, pass the savings on right to people like you and me. And Quince, by the way, only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes, which I really love. It's important to work with people who are ethical in this life. And kudos to Quince for prioritizing those ethics. And this gray sweater, I'm telling you, it has become my go-to sweater when I want to feel confident because I get compliments every single time I wear it. And it's well made. It is held up. There are other brands I won't name where I've bought sweaters from them and then very quickly, here's a hole in the armpit. The seam is coming apart. This Quince sweater, this is not a thing where it's a discount. You got to worry about that. The quality, substantially better than some of the other places that shall not be named. Go ahead, upgrade your wardrobe with pieces made to last with Quince. Go to quince.com/beautiful for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/beautiful to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/beautiful. There are so many sleep hacks out there. There's noise machines, there's eating strategies, there's yoga designed specifically to try to get you to fall asleep. There's all sorts of things you can try. And look, some of them might be great for you. I hope they are. But one thing you can do right now to help, you want to transform your sleep, go with Boll & Branch. The signature hemmed sheets from Boll & Branch are a bestseller for a reason. They feel buttery to the touch. They're super breathable. They're perfect for both cooler and warmer weather. Their signature sheets are made with 100% organic cotton using the highest quality thread on earth. Boll & Branch signature sheets come in 10 versatile colors, all sizes from twin up to California king. Maybe it's not a matter of trying some technique to get some sleep. Maybe it's just making your sleep feel luxurious and quality and good. I have slept on Boll & Branch sheets. I love them. You can feel the difference. You know when you're on Boll & Branch as opposed to anybody else. And I'll tell you, one of the things I really appreciate is that they get softer with every wash. They look good. They feel good. And the thing I appreciate the most, they put a tag that says top and bottom. So when you make the bed, you don't have to realize you messed up halfway through and do it twice. That right there is the best. Sleep better at night with Boll & Branch sheets. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com/beautiful. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com/beautiful. 15% off and free shipping. Exclusions apply. See site for details. Thanks again to everybody who supports Beautiful Anonymous. Now let's get back to the phone call. And man, is it exciting to be like, I'm in a new city. I have a new job. I got to find new friends. There's a side of that that's so intimidating. There's also a side of me that's like, those are the best stretches of life when you're older and get to look back at them.
Yeah, I do think there is something so beautiful about it. And I'm really trying to embrace that. Like there have been, the growing pains of it all. And I think that's kind of where I started talking about this. But there's been, and granted, it's been a week that I've been here as of yesterday, but there's been already so many moments where I sit and I'm just in awe. I'm like, this is my life. What do you mean this is my life? And, I think before this, I don't want to say this is the first decision I've made in my life because that sounds a little ludicrous, but I applied to very few schools, like very few colleges, and I ended up going to just, the random one that made sense for me. Even after college, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, after college, I got a job while I was still living with my parents. And so then when I moved out, I still was like, bound to a certain radius, bound to the suburbs. And, there's been a lot of decisions like that where like technically I've made these decisions, but there's been a lot of circumstances that have led to me making these decisions. Like it wasn't just like, oh, and like randomly I'm going to do this. Whereas moving to this city, I feel like it's the first like, whoa, and I'm, making this random ass decision for myself. It feels like the first time I've ever done that in my life. And I think it's beautiful. Like right now I'm walking along a body of water and the sun is shining, the birds are singing. Like it's really fucking beautiful. Sorry, Sally. But like, I don't know, even, the people here are so friendly. I purchased a dresser off of some random gals on Instagram. They posted a flyer around the town and they were like, we're moving to London. Please sell our stuff. Check out our Instagram. It was like this goofy little graphic. I was like, first of all, very cool idea. Second, bought this dresser from them. It's these two gals running up. It's me and my roommate trying to lift this heavy dresser up the stairs. Guy walks by on the street. He's like, hey, you guys need help? He helps us lift the entire thing into our apartment. I try to give him, $30 for beer. He says, no, thanks. Like you take it. Have a good night. Just the energy here. It's people are willing to show up for you. People are willing to just be real. And I think that people are interested in like having community. And I think I had community where I was living, but I think in a city, it looks a little bit different than where I was living in the sense that, your people are in walking distance or you can take a quick train ride or whatever to them. And, just excited for all the opportunities for sure.
Now, are you comfortable with me guessing what city you live in, or would you rather keep that private and anonymous?
I fear I'm a little not anonymous already.
Fair.
And especially since I am a teacher, I don't know if I want my kids finding me. Not that they would.
Love that.
I do. I've been told I have a pretty recognizable voice. So
well, I just want to say,
I might say no to that if that's
fair.
Okay.
I just want to say, like, I lived in a city for 16 years, and I will say that for as great as city life is, and if I thought I had a feeling maybe I knew what city you lived in, maybe I don't, but that city also doesn't have the reputation of like everyone sort of like with a happy face helping each other all the time. Hey, let me carry furniture for free. Like that's rare. Just so you know too, that's a honeymoon period.
And maybe it is.
I was like, when I lived in New York for 16 years, I had those moments of connection and community. And like you said, you're passing your neighbors on the street. You're getting into the fabric of a neighborhood, the rhythm of city life. That's kind of like buzz, like, from 6 a.m. things start buzzing, things starts moving, things start being bought and sold, and streets are being crossed, and people are going places, and it's exciting. I've also seen some of the absolute lowest moments of human behavior I've ever personally witnessed while living in a city. I've seen moments that made me question all humanity and eventually made me feel like I needed to escape the city. So I'm glad you're having a great first few weeks, but also know the honeymoon is happening. And let's remember that as well.
No, and it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do think there's going to be a lot of different realities to face. And I'm definitely curious to see what that looks like. But yeah, for right now, it's really cool. I like it a lot.
So we've got the city life transition. We've got the friend group life transition. What else are we thinking about on this day with this joyous, positive energy?
That's a good question. I don't know. My mind's a little empty. I'm still like in awe that I'm doing this right now. Obviously the transition was one thing I wanted to talk about. Way back when I had a literal list I kept in my journal of like all the things I would talk about on here. I don't have that with me right now. I wish I did. I don't know.
I think that's fine to not have the journal. Now, wait, did you live in New Brunswick when I met you there? Were you living in New Brunswick?
I live just outside of it,
Man,
like in the
do
towns around.
Because New Brunswick can suck your soul. I'm so okay. That's good. Never mind. We don't even need to talk about that. I lived in New Brunswick for 4 years. That town
Well, you were a Rutgers kid, right?
Yeah, that town they grinded me up and spat me out, that town, man. Which you can do. It's also a beautiful place with a lot of great art and great things happening and a real spirit of getting things done amongst young people. It also chewed me up by the end, but it's okay. I'm jealous. I've always had a dream to work in a New Jersey hot dog store. I'm jealous that you got to do that.
It was a good experience. It was really nice. They did take a little bit long with the training, so I feel like I only like half worked there. I was only working like once a week at that point. Because the first week I started, I like had a vacation scheduled already. So I went on that and then I came back and I feel like they forgot about me a little bit, but that's okay. The people were really sweet and they also gave you a free meal while you were working. So the food was good. I really liked it there. And they're very creative with what they do as well.
Great food, great people. That being said, if I worked at a place that gave me free hot dogs as my crew meal, I would be dead within 8 months. I would be hoovering hot dogs and cheese fries.
There were some gym bros who worked there. Maybe that's not the best way of putting it, but there were some guys who were a bit more into like, you know, exercising and eating really well and stuff like that. And they really just take like a whole head of lettuce and a grilled chicken and like eat that as their meal. And, you know, more power to them. That was sick, but it was kind of a funny sight sometimes just seeing this guy like ripping into a big head of lettuce.
Yeah. That's
but
awesome.
I was like, props to the gym bro culture. They're really committed to it. Meanwhile, I'm there with like my chicken sandwich. The chicken sandwiches there go crazy. They're so good.
Yeah. Good place. Destination dogs. Good place. All right. Let's focus it back on you.
Let's see.
Let's focus it back on you. Because I could talk about New Jersey hot dog culture for the rest of this call, but let's focus it back on you.
Sure. I mean, there is one thing that I guess I could talk about, but it feels a little personal. I'm like, how much do I get into this? But I am a single person living in a city and starting to be interested in dating again. So curious about kind of what that looks like in the suburbs as opposed to the city, and a little scared. There's a lot of like, how do I put it? A lot of musicians, and I accidentally love a musician. And
how do I put it? A lot of musicians. I accidentally love a musician. Listen, dating an artist, I can speak as an artist. Not always fun.
You know, it's an interesting thing. There's been, I did date like, you know, a little bit in the suburbs, you know, people from time to time. And, you know, you start dating a musician and then they're talking about, you know, the band that they're in and, you know, how it's a band, but then it's also like, you know, their personal project, and they're like, you know, saying interesting things. And the next thing you know, it's like that scene from Barbie where they're like serenading you on the couch for 20 minutes and you're like, how do I get out of this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. And I love the aesthetic. I love the, you know, they're interesting people. There's an appeal to the artsy type, but I fear I might need to pivot away from it in the city. There's so many of them.
Yeah, listen, there's these musicians everywhere, and I have so many friends who are musicians who are not going to, and there's a lot of musicians who actually listen to the show still, I believe. And it's funny because a lot of them right now are probably getting their hackles up, but like, even they, like, to all my musician friends listening, take a deep breath and understand that when it's like too easy to be like, never date a musician, also understand that you would probably be amongst the first to tell someone, be really careful and set firm boundaries when dating an artist. Absolutely. You don't want to sit here and just be the sounding board for somebody else's, you know, hero's journey that they're walking in their own mind. Oh, and then also, by the way, they leave for 3 months at a time to go on tour and you are alone. Like it can be hard.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not anti it. I don't mean to speak ill, but I think there is a very, very niche and like specific type where, you know, maybe they're mansplaining artists to you that you are very familiar with. I did, radio in college. I'm familiar with quite a few artists, and that it's more the very specific, I'm not phrasing this super well, but perhaps some people will know the type I'm talking about that I'm trying to steer clear from. But
narcissistic dickheads.
I do also think that there's a lot of beauty in art. Yeah, you said it.
It's tough because so many you might date an artist who's got like a lot of passion and is really in touch with themselves, and maybe they can stay in touch with their emotions in a way that's so rewarding for a relationship. And also they're a motivator and a self-starter, and by definition a successful musician is a small business owner and is running stuff, and there's all these qualities you look for, and it's also so incredibly hard to weed out the narcissistic dickheads and the people who are just gonna, if I'm just speaking in northeastern lingo, the people who are just gonna make you feel skivats. You don't want to feel skivats with one of these people, but you can't write off the whole society. And also as an artist, if I told people to never date an artist, I never would have gone on a date in my life. And I was also probably a narcissistic dickhead for a stretch there as well. But you gotta, these people need to grow up. I mean, my wife, she's an artist herself, but she had a very firm never date someone who has a headshot rule. If you have a headshot, we're not going on a date. That's a bad sign of you. And she was an artist. She had headshots. Like, she got it. Can't have to, but when we got together, I remember I was obviously single, and I had been mostly monogamous my entire 20s, and then a couple stretches where I was single, and then I was single again, and I was really going pretty hard, running all over Brooklyn, staying up all night, going on dates, having my fun. And then it was clear that she and I had a vibe, and one night we were walking home from someplace, and I went to lean in to kiss her, and she straight up like laughed, like pulled back and like like snickered, like, in a way that was like, as if this would ever go down. And she very gently was just kind of like, you're not wrong. Like, there's something here, but like, you got to get your shit together. Like, she all but said that. She said that, but in a much gentle way. And I had to really grow up. Yeah. I had to really just choose to grow up in that moment. And I went and worked on myself for months. And then we eventually got together. But man, artists don't make it easy. As an artist, I will tell you. And that the idea that you're like dating a musician who then is like, so there's this band Fugazi, and I think you'd really like them. And you're like, everyone's heard of Fugazi. Like, if you try to tell me who Ian Mackay is, yes, I'm aware of Discord Records. Please stop. I don't know if you're familiar with Yola Tengo. You're like, they're a very popular band, and they have been for decades. Stop it. I know about music.
Well, I will say props to you for putting in the work that, you needed to, she wanted you to do. And, clearly it worked out for the best. I think that's great. But yeah, just trying to figure out, I've always thought I was a really good judge of character. And
well, you're from New Jersey.
I think in some ways that still holds true.
Yeah, you're from Jersey.
Yeah. We have decent perception, and I think I've, tried to grow in, that realm. But sometimes, it's so easy to get caught up in something that, you're like, wow, this person's hot, or wow, like, this person's interesting. There's like some sort of appeal there. I feel like friends, I have a really good radar, and I love my people. I hold them very near and dear, but for some reason for dating, I feel like I struggled to figure out like, okay, is this a good person? Is this not a good person? And, we'll see. But I think even just having that consciousness going into it is going to be good for me. And also I think in a city, there's perhaps this culture of, people are down to just like go on dates. Like, you can go on a bunch of first dates and figure out like, okay, do I like this person? Do I not like this person? What does this look like? And that part I'm really excited for too, because I feel like in suburbia, at least from my experience, there's a lot of people who are just, first date. They're like, what are you looking for? And as much as I do think that's cool because you want to be on the same page as someone, I also think that, you know, it's nice to just get to know someone first. And I think that what you want can change depending on who you're talking to and like what the experience is.
I think in the suburbs too, you even think of it, you go, well, just to get to a date, we probably both have to bring cars and we both have to drive 15 to 30 minutes. And then if we want to go somewhere else, we need to coordinate. Are we going in one car? And that now means that one of us is trapped with the other. Or are we both going to move cars to some bar to continue the date and then have that awkward 7-minute drive from the restaurant to the bar? Whereas in a city, it's like, oh, you want to go across the street? Oh, wait, there's music playing down there. Should we just walk down there and see what that's about? Like, there is the spontaneity of city life lends itself to dating in a huge way.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, just like a small pivot from that, but even like having stuff to do, I am so thrilled to like, you know, there's a lot of like bars that are literally like right across the street from me, like right, you know, downstairs essentially, like we're everywhere. And, you know, just having stuff to do, things to try, music to listen to, people to meet. Like I remember, what was it, like a year or two ago, I made a list of like all these things that I was looking for in this life. I was like, you know, what do the next like 1 to 5 years look like for me? And community and walking distance was on the list and just like shit to do. And, you know, no shade to New Brunswick, New Jersey, but as a post grad, like, you know, you don't want to be going to the college bars or like, you know, there's somewhat limited options for someone around my age. So yeah, I don't know. Just excited at the opportunities. Excited to, you know, figure some shit out.
I love that. Who isn't excited to figure some shit out? It's a good perspective. We'll be right back. I'm happy to once again tell you about Delete Me. I have seen a lot of feedback on episodes from people saying this service sounds like something I might need. And I'll tell you, I use Delete Me and it is great and it makes me feel safe and it makes me feel like my family is safe because here's the thing. We've all heard of identity theft, right? You've heard this phrase. Are you somebody who gets harassed a lot, scammed, annoyed by those spam robocalls? Privacy is incredibly important. You would be shocked if you start looking around. You can probably find a lot of your own personal information floating out there on the internet in a way that you do not feel comfortable with. I'm telling you, it will make you feel like an easy target, but you can go ahead, you can protect yourself, get peace of mind with Delete Me. I have lived very publicly. You all know this. And there was a stretch of life where I was in a situation that was getting very intense with interactions with someone online. And I started realizing how much of my info was out there. Not just my info, my parents' addresses, phone numbers that I used to have as a kid. All this stuff floats out there. Every address you ever lived at. Delete Me goes in and makes sure that these bad people who are trying to use those private details to mess with you, they get them out of there. You protect your privacy with Delete Me. And I can tell you personally, how's this for a personal endorsement? I had signed up with another service that offered similar idea. We'll go ahead. We'll make sure that all this sensitive info of yours is not, you can't, the people out there with bad intentions can't find it. Delete Me went in and found dozens more examples than those other services found. I've used other services. I've used Delete Me, and I have personally seen Delete Me do a better job. You don't want to give a stranger the key to your front door. You also don't want to give them info that can allow them to rob your bank account, that can allow them to harass you at your house. You don't want to start getting overdue notices for credit cards you never opened. Go ahead, get your data removed with Delete Me. Avoid identity theft, avoid fraud. And again, as someone who exists publicly and I share opinions online, I've got a child. I've got to be really aware of safety and security, and Delete Me makes me feel safe and secure and like I'm fighting the good fight. And I personally recommend Delete Me. I personally use Delete Me, and I don't mess around when I say that. Delete Me finds and removes all of this stuff, gets it offline. You can sign up Let Delete Me know if there's specific info you want them to seek out. They have experts who will take it from there. They send you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, what they removed. It is not just a one-time service. They stay working for you. They constantly monitor and remove the personal information you don't want on the internet. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private. Sign up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Use the promo code beautiful at checkout. The only way to get 20% off, go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Enter code beautiful at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/beautiful, code beautiful. The school year is almost here, and I know a lot of people listening to the show, you are parents, you are teachers, you are social workers who deal with schools. You got to make sure that you and your family are set up for success. There's demands on everybody's time right now, okay? It can be hard to balance everybody's schedule and make sure everybody's on the same page, balancing chores, homework, work obligations, and then also trying to have a social life. And then people are playing sports. You got to get to soccer practice, and then you got to start scheduling your downtime. How do you balance it? How do you keep all those plates spinning? Well, guess what? The mental load of parenting is real, but this school year, there's help. Enter Skylight Calendar. I use my Skylight Calendar every single day. It is a game changer. The Skylight Calendar is a smart touchscreen calendar. It's an organizer as well for all your chores, groceries, meals, and to-dos. And it's really, really cool, man. I love mine. It's on my desk. It shows me the calendar laid out through the day, and it syncs with Google, Apple, all the other digital calendars your family might use. It shows them all together. It's on a really nice, beautiful touchscreen display, and it scrolls slowly throughout, so you know what's coming up next. You know what's passing. You can switch over to your to-do list. It's really great. It's so easy to set up. It took me just a couple minutes. They've got the 10-inch. They got the 15-inch, which that one is wall mountable. Like I said, it syncs with all the calendars you're already using and just starts showing you all of them in one place and allows you to stay on top of your day. It color codes the events, so you have like a visual map of what your family's up to. You can see the whole week laid out in these color-coded time blocks. It's great. They also have a bunch of stuff that helps kids get into it. Kids can go ahead and start checking off chores on the chore chart, and then they watch the progress bar update. It turns into like a game. It gives them an emoji celebration, all for doing their chores. There's also a new meal planning feature. Helps you sort out, oh, wait, are they having home lunch today, school lunch today? You can plan your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks on there. Store recipes on there. Couple taps. And pretty much anything you need to organize in your life, Skylight Calendar can help you organize it. It's kid approved. Use those emojis. And when that calendar is not in use, guess what? You can set it up to show pictures, and it just looks like a really nice picture frame. It's awesome. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you don't love the Skylight Calendar, you'll receive a full refund. There's a 120-day money-back guarantee and free returns. Mine is on my desk. I use it every single day, and I love it. And as a special limited-time offer for our listeners, get $40 off your purchase of a Skylight Calendar when you go to skylightcal.com/stories. That's skylightcal.com/stories. Thanks again to all our advertisers. Now let's finish the phone call.
Yeah, I don't know. Just excited at the opportunities. Excited to, figure some shit out.
Now, here's one thing I do notice. You're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be dating. I'm going to be starting a munch bunch, as Andrea has so grimly named it. I want to maybe date musicians, although I'm a little wary of it, but there's something enticing about being involved in that life. There's bars right underneath me. There's music playing. I get to experience city life. But then there's also an aspect of this, which is you're a teacher. You're going to be up at like 5:30 in the morning every day. So how do you reconcile those two things?
Yeah. I think there's got to be a balance of some sort. Also, I'm walking towards the main road, so sorry if it gets a little bit loud. Just going back home. But yeah, I think in suburbia, I had a bit of that balance as well. But yeah, I'm definitely a little bit over eager, I guess, with everything that I want to do. But I am off for the next, week and a half or so. So I think just shoving as much into that time as I can. And then, after that, just maybe having I was going to say a slow dribble. That feels like a silly way of putting it, but like a slow but steady stream of stuff, if that makes sense.
Of life experience.
Like maybe, yeah. But I think in college I was perhaps a little bit too extroverted. Like I would not spend time by myself really ever. And I think living essentially on my own in suburbia has helped me kind of figure out like how to spend time alone and, at home and things like that. And I think it's something I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with as time has gone on. So also, as much as I'm like, yeah, and I want to do this and I want to do that and whatever, I think I also do want to, find value in my space. I really like to cook and bake and all that jazz, and looking to kind of foster that at home and, have some cozy nights, maybe where I'm, kneeling by a bedside recording a podcast, things like that. Not that that's cozy, that's work, but poor joke on my part.
No, I was
like, this is going to hit, and then it was bad.
No, it wasn't bad. You bailed. You lost your confidence, and you bailed at the end. I was ready to get your back. I was waiting for you to finish the sentence.
Oh, maybe I did.
So I could follow up, and then I felt your confidence waver in it. I liked it. You were referring to me, and I understood. I was ready for my response to have a killer 1-2 punch, and then you thought too hard about it.
Well, I never want you to be the punchline of a joke. In my mind, I was just referencing your situation, and then I was like, "Oh, is this mean?" But
yeah,
maybe
you're being too kind. You're being too kind. Everything's okay. Everything's okay. We're all good. Everything's fine. I'm excited. I'm jealous. This reminds me, I was 24 when I moved to New York, and I lived there until I was almost 40. And I squeezed every drop I could out of that city. I had some times that were amazing and brilliant. I had some times that were really lonely. And when you're lonely in a place as packed full of people as a city in the Northeast, that's like a brand of loneliness that really feels like a fuck you, like you're managing to be lonely in a place where there's thousands of people on the street right now. I had times where I reached heights I never thought I'd reach. I had times where I wound up in situations that were so low that I don't even care to recount them. But I feel like you're entering that stretch of life that I remember having, and I'm really excited for you. I'm excited for you. And on top of it, you're going to get out here and enter a field where you can be one of the people on the ground level helping kids, helping young people, being right there, helping them. And that's beautiful and gratifying in its own right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will say I'm really grateful for this call. I feel like it came at a good time. You mentioned like my confidence wavered with the joke, and it absolutely did. But I do think, as cheesy as this is to say, I think that since moving here, it's been a little bit hard to find my footing and figure out, as I said before, like how I fit into this space, but I don't know. I've noticed I've been a little bit more nervous or a little bit more anxious than usual. And I think that comes with, like getting used to my surroundings and things like that. But, going to the show last night, like I've been to shows by myself, granted it's been a second, but, I was so nervous. I was calling my friends and I was like, can you hype me up? Like, I'm really kind of scared to do this. And, I think sometimes it's, how do I put it? I think in the last week or so, I've forced myself to be brave, but it's also been kind of hard to do. And I'm excited to get to a point where, my feet are a little bit more on the ground and I'm more comfortable like in myself and being in myself in this space. But it's been a little weird because also everyone's hot. Like you walk the streets and I'm like, why are there like hot people everywhere? I'm not like I'm like a decent looking gal myself. However, like, I'm like, wow, do I really have to like put mascara on every time I leave the house? And like, and I don't have to, but you know, I'm like, how do I, you know, I don't know, long story, rambly long, just trying to find my footing and, you know, figure out how to get my confidence back as well.
That was hilarious. I know what you mean. I lived in.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I think you get that in any city.
It's wild. It's wild. When I lived in New York, I go back to New York now. I've lived in Jersey again for what, 4.5, 5 years, and I go back into New York, and I'm like, how did I have the audacity? How did I have the gumption to walk around in this city with my hairline and my glasses slipping down my sweaty little nose and my little paunchy belly? And I lived for 16 years in this city where every single person looks like they wandered out of a fashion shoot. What the hell is going on these streets? And you just get used to it. You get used to it. And it was wild. It's wild to return there now. You're not wrong. Everyone's hot at least in New York City. Now, I thought I knew where you were, but are you? Yeah, I don't want to guess because you said you don't want. Offline, I want to know. And this is not throwing shade at the city I thought you were in, but I'm like, I don't. Are you? I wonder if you're in one of these more fashion-driven cities. Who knows? Who knows? But you're not wrong. The city.
No.
These cities are full of hotties, and you know what it is? Everyone walks everywhere, so they're getting more vitamin D. They're getting 10,000 steps in every day as a rule. People live in these walk-up apartments. The amount of times that I lived in apartments where I had to routinely walk up 4 to 6 flights of steps just to get in and out of my house, and I'd have to do that 3 or 4 times a day. I'm sitting here, I'm like, it's like you went to the gym for 40 minutes just by living in an apartment building where you have to just constantly walk up and down steps. And then on top of it, everybody's out and being social and meeting each other and getting all the health benefits of that. And yeah, man, there's these hotties, these cities full of hotties. I love that started with you. Like,
and
yeah, go for it.
So again, I'm not a bad looking person, but when I think of myself as a hottie, it's more like I'm a sweaty ass person. And that's something I've realized in moving as well. Like I'm walking around right now. I went to the park. I'm walking back. I'm sweating. I got the pit stains going. Yeah. I got, all the back sweat probably visible. And I'm like, that's my question too. I'm like, do you just get the endurance in walking in a city so much that people are not sweating? Like when the girlies do this, they look dewy, they look gorgeous. And I'm like, I'm really just like dripping right now. It's kind of tough.
I think there's people out here with multiple changes of shirts in their bags every given day, first of all.
Oh, maybe that's the move. I got to bring a bigger bag and bring like a change of clothes.
Secondly, it's not always going to be mid-August.
Especially in the summer.
It's not going. I was just saying, it's not always going to be mid-August. Right now you walk around, it's like you're in a sauna, just being outdoors.
No, absolutely.
But it is weird. And listen, I'm not trying to be too down on myself, but how did I have any stretches of life where I survived and thrived dating in a city in the northeast of the United States of America? I'd like to think I'm not fugly, but I'm an odd and specific looking person, and I did fine. I think you're going to be good to go.
Thank you. I hope so. And I will say, I think if there's any place for odd and specific, it is a city.
You can find your people, and you can find who you appeal to.
Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. Oh, the AC is gorgeous. This is good. I'm going home. Wow, it must be a little bit quieter too. Do you hear the quiet on your end now?
Well, now it sounds very echoey. You're back in your apartment? So you effectively just jumped on the phone and you and I chit-chatted while you went on a walk around the new city where you live. That's what this call was.
Yes. This is what I do with my friends. I have like my favorites list on my phone and I call someone and we gab for a while. I walk and then I come home. It's one of my favorite hobbies. And I walk really slowly too. So I just kind of like stroll and chat, and it's really lovely.
I love that. That's really.
Yeah, but now the sweat is settling in. I'm like,
well, listen, it's all good. It's all good. You can't be insecure about this.
it's all good.
You're good. You're gonna thrive in this city. You're gonna crush it. You're gonna break a goddamn musician's heart. The musicians think they're gonna break your heart. No, you're gonna break a musician's heart. You're gonna change some kids' lives. You're gonna find your footing as far as who you are. You're gonna remember all the good things about the suburbs while shedding the limitations you felt there. You're gonna see who you are in a city that's more fast-paced and quick-moving and allows some anonymity for you to just kind of bounce around and live life. It's gonna be great. You're good. I would say you're golden, actually.
I hope so. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to see, I think the silliest thing about all of this is, and I guess previous callers might be able to relate to this, but this is going to be a doozy to listen back to. This is going to be so crazy. I send voice memos to my friends via like text sometimes, and sometimes I listen back to them and I'm like, wow, I sound so silly, or wow, maybe this made some sense or something.
Well, I'm glad it exists.
Does it ever get weird?
For me?
Like listening back? Yeah. Do you listen to all of your episodes?
I can't listen back. I've never watched an episode of the Chris Gethard Show, and it's very hard for me to actually listen to myself because I'm extraordinarily self-conscious about my voice and every choice I've ever made. And I sort of feel like I exist to just kind of put things on record and then move on. And I'm lucky that I have had, over the years, right now I've got Andrea having my back, and I've had Jared having my back. Like I have some extraordinarily talented people to shepherd these calls out into the world. And I'm glad I don't have to listen to them as I sit here. I mean, if I listened to an episode, I'm sure from even like 6 months ago, I'd be like, I don't agree with what I'm saying at all. And I said it 6 months ago. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I mean, this is my shining moment. This is my, beautiful anonymous episode. And like, I feel like just doing the one, I have to listen to it. But I've never listened to an hour phone call.
I want to know what it's like to listen to it in a year, and then 5 years, and then 10 years, and then 20 years. Because my guess is there are times in a year you're going to listen back and you're going to like cringe at some things you said, and then in 10 years you're going to listen back and go, what a beautiful snapshot of me in this moment where my youthful enthusiasm was propelling me forward into my turns as an adult, and the world was in front of me, and the thing that gave me the most anxiety was that the world was full of limitless potential, and I didn't know how my new career was going to go, how my new dating life was going to go, my new city life. And that was what was intimidating to me. Because the anxieties, that's one of the things. It's getting, in many ways, getting older, there's actually a lot of joy to it and a lot of peace to it and a lot of zen to it. But one thing that I will say is I sit here and I go, one of the things that I wish someone had maybe explained to me when I was your age, not to be like, oh, I'm old, man, but I'm 44 years old. I'm significantly older than you. But I sit here and I'm like, the anxieties I had back then were fun compared to the anxieties I have now are a combination of other people depending on me, which is pressure, and boring things like mortgage concerns. Whereas the anxiety of like, should I date a musician because that'll either be super fun or a complete fucking nightmare? I'm like, that is an anxiety that is enticing and real anxiety. But also there's something so joyous about like, I'm on the precipice of something and I don't know how it's going to go. And that's the anxiety. That's a very real anxiety. But it's a high quality anxiety to have. It's a sign of a good life that's being well lived. And I hope you can embrace that. These fears and anxieties are all because there's limitless options in front of you. What an amazing reason to feel some very real and valid anxiety.
Yeah. No, I think it's really cool. And also, I mean, I've called into the show quite a few times. I've actually made it on hold, I think at least like 2 or 3 times. And I've never gotten pushed through. And I always thought, you know, maybe this is for the best. Like you know, I love to hear all these other stories that people have to say. And I think that each one is so meaningful. And I always thought, like, you know, if and when this happens for me, it's going to be at a point where it makes sense for me. And I don't know, I'm not a super, I don't really believe in like fate or anything like that, but I definitely, also, is it still echoey? I'm realizing I can go outside if I need
you're
to.
good.
I'm like
you're
very
good.
conscious of the sound for some reason.
You're good.
Cool.
And I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Of course. But I also think that recently I've been trying to put out some good energy, and I've been trying to make some things happen for myself, and they have been. And I think it's really cool that this can be kind of something that I come back to, as you said, where, you know, this is a really big pivot in my life. And this is something new and strange and uncomfortable and beautiful. And I feel like this was meant to happen today. And I'm really, really grateful for the chance to talk with you and to get your perspectives. And, you know, at a certain point, I was maybe going to ask you if you had any advice for living in a city. And I think it's really been, you know, woven through the entire episode. And, you know, I just think you're very well spoken. You're very insightful. And I really appreciate, you know, everything that you have to say.
Listen, you're very kind, and you're a lot of people's favorite caller. I can already tell. There's also, I will say this.
Whoa!
Definitely. And I'll also say this too. Like, we had a guy from high school call in recently, and now you're calling in from like, hey, I'm moving to a city in my 20s, and the show has a reputation for being a little more middle-aged. So I like that there's a bit of a youth movement happening, but I also am very happy too, because I notice with callers that are younger lately, a lot of the fan base is going like, oh, I had some thoughts I had about kids in their 20s, kids in their teens, and they were misconceptions. And that call is giving me hope. And hearing your excitement and hearing your enthusiasm and your thoughts, even just these chit-chatty thoughts on getting out there, I think a lot of people are going to be like, right. There's people who are diving into teaching and diving into their new lives. And I keep thinking about everything you've told me today that's like these transition moments that might be causing some stress, the loneliness, lack of friend group, figuring out dating, starting the new job. And I sit here, and you know what my advice would be is like, what's the punctuation at the end of it? Because you could look at a situation like that and you could go, I have no idea how anything is going to turn out. And it could sound like that. But you could just slightly put, you know, you could put a ... at the end of that and go, I have no idea how anything's going to turn out. And it becomes enticing.
Shut up. I was going to say ... It's a ... moment. That's what it is.
It's a ... moment. You're in a ... moment of life. That's where you're at. And I'm psyched for you. And that's the end of our hour. You nailed the goddamn ending too. I can't wait to at the end of the bonus. Also, we're about to go behind the paywall. If anybody wants to sign up for the bonus content, one of the great funny things I will say is that while Andrea is a great producer and has brought endless amounts to the show, Andrea's unpredictable nature of when she hangs up is one of my favorite things about the bonus content. You never know if it's going to be ending at the end of a sentence or when someone is like 2 syllables into a 7-syllable word. It's one of my favorites. Are you ready to come behind the paywall with me for 5 more questions submitted randomly from our audience?
Yeah, I'm up for it. Thank you.
Caller, thank you so much. Good luck with everything. I hope that all of these new beginnings lead you to paths and places that you can't even imagine, and that they're all super positive and great. Thank you to our producer, Andrea Quinn. Thank you to Shell Shag for the theme music. Go to punchup.live/Chris Gethard if you want to know more about me, including upcoming tour dates. We've got a voicemail line. It's 973-306-4676. The Instagram is at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. And don't forget to join the Facebook group, Beautiful Anonymous, the community.
Just me, face to face.
This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. What's one thing you've thought about doing and you haven't, and why?
So I used to be a swimmer, and I would like to start swimming again. I need to find a pool first. It seems like there are perhaps somewhat limited options where I'm at, which is unfortunate, but I would like to start swimming again. I think that it has brought me a lot of peace. And I guess, was the question something I've never done or something I want to do?
You can take it in any direction you want, but it technically is, what's one thing you've thought about doing and you haven't?
I'm wondering if there's anything more interesting I can say. Ooh, I want to buy eyeliner. I've never owned like a good eyeliner, and I want to buy it and I want to wear it sometime.
Was not expecting that. As you plumbed the depths of your soul, going,
Yeah.
What's the most interesting? I thought something more interesting. Okay, eyeliner, which I'm not an aficionado, and I'm not judging the answer, but to my knowledge, eyeliner is sold in every pharmacy in the United States. Is this true?
Yes.
Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.
Welcome to Finally Caught, a true crime podcast from the hit North American and UK television series.
I saw the one girl with her throat cut and her abdomen stabbed and slashed.
It's a gruesome sight.
Bloodstains on the bed, wall.
This is just the beginning of the journey.
Each episode details a horrific murder and subsequent investigation in order to capture the killer at large. To the newly released first season of Finally Caught, available wherever you get your podcasts.